Hey guys, it's Nancy Fox, the Business Fox. Hello, fired up friends. Can you let me know if you guys are with me? Let me know that you can hear me, see me. Let's see. It's Fired Up Friday Facebook Live. How are you? Let's see if anybody can join me. Oh, Joni's there. Hey, Joni. Hi, Kirk. Welcome, welcome everybody. Hi, Joni, miss you, great to see you. I'm so excited, I couldn't wait to have this conversation with you guys today, so I'm looking forward to it. I hope that you enjoy it too. Oh good, Kirk says you can hear me, awesome. Thank you, thank you. It's gonna be a little bit of a different session today because I'm gonna do a little teaching and I'm gonna flip the camera around. I've got some diagrams to show you. Hi Gail, welcome, welcome. I want to turn my phone off so it does not disturb us. Okay, good. All right. Anybody else join us? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know you're here. It's Friday, everybody. Hope you're having a great day. The sun is desperately trying to come out in California. It has been very, very dreary here. And it is not what I signed up for. So every day I'm visualizing the sun. So everybody send some sun to California. We've had a lot of rain. I know we've needed it, but this is a lot already. All the brown mountains have turned very green, which is really nice. But I'm tired of it's just so soggy. So anyway, but this is going to be a really bright part of the day. I've got a lot of good stuff to share with you. All right, so today I want to tell you, our topic today is, hi Nancy, welcome, welcome. Our topic today is all about procrastination. And I know it's a very, it's a charged topic for people, which actually is, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Hi Scott, welcome. So here's the deal. We're going to be talking about procrastination today, as I know a lot of you struggle with this. However, the first thing I want to tell you is that procrastination is not the problem. It is only the symptom. Let me say it again. Experiencing procrastination or being a procrastinator is not the problem. It is a symptom of other stuff, which is what I'm going to get into today, especially as it relates to how your brain chemistry is actually the cause of this entire issue. So we're going to dive into some of the, I'm going to give you some of the, I am not a neuroscientist by any means. I don't claim to be. I am a student of neuroscience and a student of mindset. Hi Janet, welcome. I'm a student of this and I've been studying this for 20 years. So what I'm sharing with you is a very boiled down, encapsulated sort of demonstration and picture of what is really going on for you so that you can put it into so that you can ingest it, digest it, and then use it in a new way. All right, that's how we're going to set this up. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is I want you to sort of imagine, like I want you to get sort of thinking about your own situation. And by the way, today not only am I going to talk to you about how this is how you can have a solution for your issues around procrastination through understanding and also new techniques and tools, but I'm also going to share my own experience around procrastination because I'm dealing with a really cool, juicy, icky one right now. Hi, honey, welcome. So, and I'm going to be really transparent about it, and I'm going to share everything that I'm doing to, I'm going to show you how I'm using the very tools and tips I'm going to give you and how I'm going to be using them for my own procrastination experience and how you can do it too. All right. So I'm going to dive right in. So first of all, today, I want you to think for yourself, like if you've heard yourself say at any time, like you've been presented with an opportunity or an experience that sounds really interesting and you really like it and it feels appealing and it actually spurs some enthusiasm and excitement and intrigue around it, and it even seems sort of pleasurable, and yet you say to yourself in the next breath, sounds great, but like I'm not ready, or I need to think about that a little more. I need more information. I'm going to check with my team. I'm going to check with other people around me, my advisors. I'm going to process it. I don't do things this way. I'm going to consider, and I need time to process. I need time to get ready. I need more information. I need. And all of, or tomorrow, really, today's not a really good day because I'm not feeling very well. So I really should, think about doing that tomorrow. Like, I really know I should work out today, and my back is sort of twitchy, so I think I'm going to put it off. Maybe I'll feel better tomorrow. Yeah, I see that you're wearing you're not so newbie badge. That's really funny, Kirk. We're all newbies. Believe me, we're all newbies because we're all learning. So I'm glad you're sharing that. All right, so back to so here's where I wanted to have you think about this. I want you to just really think about what that voice in your mind tells you very frequently when it comes to embracing and acting on new thoughts, new actions, new experiences, and new opportunities. Just consider what your mind tells you as the next thought. Because most of you tell me that you love an idea or an opportunity or a method or a technique or a new series of actions that you might be taking, but, and then you have, as soon as you say the word but, you've put the whole procrastination sequence into play. And I'm going to dissect this for you so you can see how this is almost, it's on autopilot, and you are not the one really doing this. You're on autopilot, and you don't even know it. You think that you are figuring stuff out. You think that you are logical about it, but you are not. So I'm going to explain a lot about this, but before I do, I want to tell you that I'm going to be referring to notes a lot more today than I usually do, because there's a lot of this brain science that I need to refer to, and I want to make sure that I'm accurate. All right, so the first thing I want to tell you is that when you are thinking and processing, you are processing with your brain, of course. Your brain is processing. Your brain is the organ. Your mind is the brain in action, right? Get it? So your brain is the actual organ. It's the organic material. It's the organic molecules and atoms and all of that. And it is actually, when it goes to work, it is your mind that is it is the brain at work. And your brain and the parts of your brain, I'm really boiling this down, but there's the conscious and the unconscious part of your mind, which are controlled by different parts of your brain. Your conscious mind is controlled very much by the frontal lobe. I'm really boiling this down, like really, like these are extremely simplistic explanations, but I just want you to get the idea of this. Most of the time, you really think with your brain, in your mind, that you are actually figuring stuff out logically, analytically, and that is really the answer to finding the solutions to your challenges and your desires and all of that. When in fact, 95% of your mind and the conclusions that you draw are not coming from your logical mind at all. They are coming from your subconscious. I know it's pretty remarkable, but it is really true. Your subconscious, although it is not the biggest part of your brain, it controls your mind so much. And it is because it is really designed for one primary thing. It is there, your subconscious is there so that it will give you mechanisms so that, imagine if you try to consciously process millions and millions and millions of bits of information on a daily basis and try to go back and forth in the filing system, you would never be able to get by. You would never be able to get through a day. So your subconscious is there as a filing system and as a referral system, so that you don't have to worry about pulling all of it up. It's automatic. Your subconscious is there automatically. But your subconscious is there to do primarily one thing, and that is, it is there to keep you safe. It's there to protect you. And so your subconscious is basically almost all of the time is operating in survival mode. Now, the perception of survival mode is where it gets very tricky, because as soon as you feel anything negative or think anything negative, your subconscious is the one that's actually going right into overdrive, protecting you from the threat, any threat that is perceived. You see, we've got a very, very complex system operating here, and most of the time you're trying to operate in the world with the frontal lobe and figuring it out and analytically, when in fact the real control system, the real operating system, the real programming is in the subconscious. And I'm going to explain later what we need to do about that, so that we can actually, we've got to, unless we want to keep living with what we have, we actually have to create a new program. We have to disassemble what the current program is that we do not want. Not all the programs are bad, of course, because survival is really important, but some of them are completely dysfunctional for us and keep us stuck and unhappy and less performing at a lower level. And so understand that my whole intention today is to have you have new methods that you can implement on your own to rewire your system, to reprogram. And I'm going to talk to you about how you're going to do that. Okay, so first I just want to see if I covered everything. All right, so let me also say to you that actually I'm going to flip the camera around now, because I want to show you something, a little diagram that I created for you. So give me a moment. Can you see? Okay, so you can see my flip chart, yes? Okay, good. So you can see my office, you can see you can see my belief board, you can see all of my stuff in my office, which is really cool. All right, so Honey's asking a really good question. I've been studying brain science for a really long time, but the source that I'm using most for today's presentation and conversation is really coming from Dr. JoeDispenza. The reason I love Dr. Joe is because Dr. Joe has explained how brain science actually relates to mindset and the laws of attraction. And he's actually tangibly measuring the brain waves and brain activity and brain sequences, so that we understand how the actual tangible brain and mind are imposing and influencing how we see the world, and therefore how we act. So let me take you through this. So on my chart, I've sort of noticed on the top left, there's the thought. The first thing that happens is we have a thought. So where our thoughts come from, of course, I'm going to explain a little bit more about that, but just for the moment, just embrace the concept that we start with a thought. And that thought is actually a thing. It is not like airy, it's not like a concept. It is a real thing, because a thought is made up of matter, and it is actually turning, and the reason we know this is because when we have a thought, all of the neurons in our brain are firing. They are firing with signals and electrical impulses. And we know that electrical impulses are positive and negative. In fact, all of our cells have positive and negative components to it, because they are electrical in nature. So these neurons are now firing, and they fire positively and negatively in sequences. And these sequences are called, thank you, and these sequences are called networks, right? They're firing when they fire together, they wire together, so they become a network. And so now our brain, especially in the subconscious, is now receiving and recalling these networks of neurons firing together and wiring together. And as they wire together, they are actually concretized into a system and a thought pattern. So when we have a thought and those neurons are firing, when they fire, different organs are releasing chemicals. These chemicals they actually give us a feeling in our body, a physical, tangible feeling in the body. Chemicals, our emotions are actually chemicals. So we have a chemical being released, which is coming from a thought, which are actually neurons firing together, and then these feelings that we have in our body turn into emotions, which emotions are actually our interpretation of what that physical feeling is. So when you feel fear, if I say to you, where do you feel it in your body? You'll know. You feel it, sometimes you'll feel it in your chest, or you'll feel it in your stomach, or you'll feel it in your back. You can actually feel things in your body, and then you will know, you have now been trained to know that when you feel that in your body, that's the emotion that you're feeling. You've interpreted it as an emotion. Now, the next thing that happens as you're interpreting this, you see, you're now immediately going into a thought pattern of saying, well, I wonder why I feel like that, right? And you're immediately trying to dig into your brain, which is going to go right in. Their subconscious kicks right in because it's on automatic pilot, and it's searching for an answer to why. And immediately, because the subconscious has been filing millions and millions of patterns, it's searching into the filing system for why, and it goes right into the past system. So every time you have a meaning and an interpretation, it's automatically coming from, certainly not coming from the future, because you don't know what the future is, right? It's digging into the past for your answer. So every time you have a meaning and an interpretation for your emotion, you're digging into your past. You're not looking at the future, only looking at the past. So when I say, well, why are you afraid? You'll immediately go into, well, why do I feel afraid? And you'll dig into your past and you'll give me some really good answers. Oh, well, when I was 5 years old, this happened, or when I was 12, somebody, attacked me, or I was really, I answered a question in my kindergarten class, and I answered the wrong thing, and everybody laughed at me. And now you're digging into your past. So immediately you're associating, you see. And so those associations is really an example of what I mean when neurons that fire together, wire together, and that's directly from Dr. JoeDispenza. But he explains it so well. He shows us exactly how our brain chemistry is causing so much in our lives that we think are really analytical thoughts, which is inaccurate. It's just inaccurate. Okay, so now what happens is you've now interpreted your emotion. And because you don't want to feel a negative emotion, because normally this is what's happening, 95% of the time you're feeling a negative emotion, you now give that emotion a meaning, right? You've interpreted it, and now you go into an action, and when this is all repeated time after time after time after time, we call that a habit. And most of us do not say that we have good habits, we say we have negative habits, right? And the reason is because we find ourselves struggling with these chemicals that are giving us negative emotions so much of the time. When we are faced with a new opportunity or a new desire or a new idea, we love the idea until someone or something kicks in. Usually our own brain is going to give us a thought like, but what? But wait, are you sure? We become doubtful, we become worrying, right? So our brain chemistry is already kicking in, pushing us in the negative direction, pushing us into looking at things, into meanings and interpretations that are negatively charged. Negatively charged causes us to act in a way that is going to keep us, remember, survival, right? So keeps us usually in an action that's going to keep us in survival. And guess what those actions are? Those actions are procrastination actions. And now, as you can see, we become habitually wired to procrastinate and to seek out reasons and explanations and excuses so that we don't have to go into new behaviors because they might be uncomfortable and therefore threaten what we perceive or what the subconscious perceives as survival, threat to survival. So it's starting to make sense that you see how this cycle starts to form. And until you do something to break this cycle, you're in the hole, and I'm in the hole, and it's just like it's now it's getting hardwired. And we know that when something is hardwired, it is really, really difficult to undo it, right? And it's been hardwired usually for years and years and years and years. In fact, when I tell you that when people tell me that they're a procrastinator or that they really struggle with productivity, or they struggle with overwhelm, or they struggle with self-doubt, as soon as they have they say those words, guess what? And a chemical is released. They have a feeling in their body. When I say the word overwhelm to you, you have a feeling in your body because the chemical has been released, and you can feel it. You can feel maybe it's on your shoulders, maybe it's in your chest, but you start to have that physical feeling. And now you have an emotion, a negative emotion, because you don't like the feeling of feeling that kind of pressure. You interpret it as being something bad or threatening or unsafe, or maybe worry. It starts to kick in some worry, right? And now you're in the vicious circle, because now you're going to start to act on that feeling of overwhelm. Instead of, you have no mechanism for actually diffusing all of this and creating a new. Now, the idea of this is today, what I want to talk about are some ways that you can actually deconstruct the old pattern, the old programming, and start to create a new pattern. Now, the first thing you have to be willing to do is you have to be willing to let go of your past. And most people say, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, I'm going to give you some tools around that. But first, I need to give you a few other things so just hang with me. I'm going to flip the flip chart paper, so stay with me. All right, good. So you can see this. Can you guys see this? Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Wave to me. Can you let me know? I don't see anybody waving. Hello, wave to me. Okay, well, hopefully you can see this. All right, so procrastination, when I say, all of you guys decided that you wanted to learn more about procrastination, and probably some of you said, well, I want to know why I'm procrastinating. And that's really not the source of the solution. What we really want to have you see is how this mechanism is set up, and it's on autopilot, and it doesn't have to be that way. So the first thing is, thank you guys for letting me know you can see this. Okay, good. So when I say the word procrastination, if somebody's a procrastinator, we think of them as lazy, maybe they're distracted, maybe they're overwhelmed, they just have really bad habits, they don't know how to organize themselves, right? Okay, so all of that stuff, those words, come from the past. They are interpretations of They're the interpretations. Remember, your thought patterns are now ultimately coming into a physical feeling and then a mental explanation or an interpretation. And now that feeds further, that is going to feed continued action in the same direction. The more you try to fight it with the same solutions, like the conscious part of your brain, the frontal lobe, the more you try to fix it with analysis and logical thinking, the less you actually get effective results, because you have to do this, you have to address this at the subconscious level. And most people never do this. Here's what happens. Most people say, oh, I need a time management mechanism. I need a time management tool. Go buy that. And then you get that, and then you work a prettier calendar, and it still doesn't change anything for you. Why? Because what's going on for you is already pre-wired. It's hardwired. You got to change the wiring. All right, now, how do we do this? You have to interrupt this. You have to interrupt the pattern. You have to create new connections, which means when you create new neural connections, you'll have new thoughts. And when you have new thoughts, guess what? You're going to have new chemical reactions. And then you can have new emotions. And then you can start to create some new habits, you see? And that is why brain chemistry is the cause of your procrastination and not the other way around. All right, so now I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see me, so I can have my conversation with you. All right, now I want to share with you my own personal procrastination challenge. It's vulnerability time. Are you ready? I am not generally a procrastinator. I rarely have struggled with this, but this one is up for me right now, and I'm bringing you along on my journey, and I'm going to actually, I'm going to use today's training to work on my own procrastination issue. So I know that procrastination is not the problem, it is the symptom. Remember, I said that right from the get-go. So here's my procrastination issue. I have been working on writing this book for about, well, the concept of it has been around 2 years. I've written 2 books before this, and my last book was easy squeezy, easy to write. It was so easy. It's like I had the outline, I started writing, I wrote every morning, I wrote from 6 to 7. It was easy, and when I had a plan, and I planned to release it by X date, and it was on time and ready to rock and roll, and off it went. This time, it's different. So in my mind, I said, oh, this is going to be really easy, right? That was my mental thinking. What I didn't know, that underneath that belief system, there was a deeper belief. And the deeper belief was that this book is going to be harder. And the reason it's harder is because the last time I wrote my book, I didn't really have to do a lot of research. It was all in my brain. All I had to do was download it. I organized my thoughts and I downloaded. I hardly had to do any research because I knew all the information and it was in my brain, and I just downloaded it right onto paper. But this book is going to require, unless I change the actual design of it, it's going to cause me, I'm going to have to do some research around it. And there's something about that research that I have some self-doubt around it, that I'm not going to explain it right, that I'm not going to communicate it easily enough, that it's not going to appeal to enough people, blah, 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 blah. All those thoughts are generating all these neurological, chemical reactions, right? And I start to feel that icky feeling in the pit of my stomach. And here's why it's even worse, because I know this stuff. So when I have that pit in my stomach and I don't do what I say I'm going to do, I'm well trained in this. I have been well trained over 20 years to be my word. So when I say I'm going to do something by a certain time and I don't do it and I don't act on it, it is there's a judgment in the back of my subconscious coming up, right? So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to share with you today. I've decided to show you how I'm going to use that judgment to rewire things, to create a new neural pathway for myself. And I'm going to bring you along on my journey so that you'll know exactly where I'm grappling with it and where I am making progress. All right, so here's this procrastination about the book is a really good example, because I know what needs to be done, but every day I say I'm going to do it it's on my calendar and I'm still not doing it. Why is that? So see how I go to why? The why is unimportant, because the why will not get me there. It really is about I really am going to work on creating the new neural pathway. There's some perception that this is going to be hard. There's some perception that I'm going to fail. There's some perception that it won't be well received. There's some perception that I'll get it wrong, that I will be challenged on it, that people won't buy into it, that they won't get enough from it, or that all these different thoughts that come up. So I'm going to rewire the whole thing, and I'm going to create a whole new positive aspect that I'm going to practice every single day. Now, the thing about this, so here are my thoughts about when we rewire. When we want to create a new neural pathway. Okay, so I'm going to give you some tips there are 5 key tips that you have to put into place when you are going to create new connections and And as it relates to, this relates to not only your procrastination, but any area of your life where your business, especially you guys are looking at starting businesses and growing them. So you're faced with a lot of challenges. Usually those challenges are not the real challenge. Those are just symptoms of the problem. And I want you can use this very technique to apply to almost any of the things that you're perceiving as your problems. But let's look at procrastination as the example for today. So when you're experiencing yourself in this procrastination mode. So some of you have said, I need to identify the right niche for my business, and I'm just struggling researching, or I'm struggling getting my interviews done to find out if my concept is really accurate, or for people are receiving this idea in the way that I anticipate. Or I'm not really sure what my business should be, and I need help, but I don't know where to get it. I'm watching all these webinars, and I'm watching all these, videos on YouTube, and I'm still not getting to the answer. Oh, I'm going to go work on my website. Oh, I think I'll do that. It's a distraction. You keep avoiding the problem. So the first thing is you have got to get present to what your thoughts are. You have to listen to yourself. You have to really get present. You're not listening. You're listening to your analytical mind, but you're not listening to your subconscious mind and the self-doubt and the limiting beliefs that are coming up that are promoting you going into a logical reactive mode. So you have to get present to your internal thinking and your interpretive thoughts that are coming up as a result of all the emotions, and you have to start paying attention, hearing them at a whole new level. You have to get quiet to listen because you're so busy being, and look, here's the thing. You could get distracted. You could go on Facebook. You could go on Instagram. You could go on your email, blah, blah, blah. You could binge watch every, Game of Thrones all you want, but it is not going to give you what you truly are searching for, which is freedom. It's not even just getting your goals accomplished. It's freedom and power around accomplishing anything you want. So you have to get present to your thoughts. And if you start to anesthetize yourself to those thoughts and not really pay attention, then you're going to, the experience of procrastination goes on, and all that happens is you just feel worse and worse about yourself. So the only way to really get beyond this, unless you really enjoy feeling worse and worse about yourself, and by the way, many of you are so used to feeling lousy about yourself that this feels normal to you. You're on autopilot feeling lousy. It does not have to be that way. I promise. I mean it. I promise. Okay, so get present to your thoughts. Stop, get quiet, and listen. Listen. Now, step 2. Keep a log. I want you to write these thoughts down. Write them all down. Even if you don't like what you're hearing your mind say. Your subconscious is feeding you a lot of garbage. Write it down. Pay attention. Look at your verbiage. So many of you are saying terrible things about yourself, and you're not even present to it. It immediately slides right into the chemical reaction, the emotional state, and you're gone. Write them down. Take 1 week. Write all your thoughts down for a week. Listen to yourself, and then take a look at what you've actually been feeding your mind with, or your subconscious has been feeding you with. Take a look at how much of it is negative. I will be stunned if 90 to 95% of it isn't negative. How much of the time are you saying wonderful things about yourself? How many of you are actually at the end of every day celebrating yourself for any accomplishment or anything positive that you did? How many of you said one nice thing about yourself yesterday in your mind? How many of you celebrated yourself? It's a practice you have to start doing. Okay, so write all your thoughts down. I want you to pay attention to how many self-limiting beliefs you have actually been thinking on a daily basis. And then I want you to start adopting some mind-shifting activities. Meditate. You do not have to meditate for a really long time. You can meditate for a minute and then expand into 5-6 minutes. Excellent, excellent. Okay, thank you, Kirk. Thank you for responding. So meditate, get quiet. And the whole idea of meditation is to stop the internal chatter. And it's going to come up, but you just gently release it. You don't judge when you meditate. You can use visualizations. You can use guided meditations. It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you start to get some quiet going so that you can start to reprogram your subconscious. Your conscious mind has to tell your subconscious who's boss. Your boss, okay? So you have to rewire this stuff. Okay, so when you meditate, you can visualize, you can imagine yourself in a successful, accomplishing future. Now, how do we know that imagination really matters and that it really is effective? Okay, so every single advertising agency in the world knows this. They have given you an imagination for 30 seconds. They're helping you imagine yourself in a more successful, desirable future. Imagine, like, people when they've experienced a trauma, even when the experience is over, they keep reactivating the trauma because they go back into their memory and keep replaying it and replaying it and replaying it, and it's a choice. And so every time you go back into the past and remember it, your mind, your subconscious mind, does not know the difference. When you're in your imagination, doesn't know the difference between your imagined experience and real world experience. It's all the same to your subconscious because it's all energy. So that is why, just to give you an example, that is why you can have a sexual fantasy and it feels really good, right? Or you can have you can play fantasy football and it feels really, really good. It's all in your brain. It's imagined, but your subconscious experiences as reality. So if you're experiencing something negative, conversely, you can create a positive experience and teach your brain how to feel. How you can teach your mind how to think and how to feel. You can create a whole new chemical reaction and a new mental reaction as well. And over time, one of the reasons I tell people that when they're in a visualization, you have to remember an emotional time when the feeling was really good, so the connection points will be there. So if you're imagining yourself earning, double the amount that you're earning right now, think of a time when you had more money or when you experienced money coming in the door and you felt really good. You want to connect the dots so that your subconscious starts to get retrained. That is the way you start to reprogram the whole thing. Okay, so, and you can start to see that when you start to make these new neural pathways, the chemical reactions ensue, the emotions ensue, the meaning that you put to the emotions ensue, and now you're starting to create a whole new sequence. And when you do that over time with practice, and if you don't do it regularly and don't do it every day, the old pattern is so hardwired, it's going to start to kick in again. So you have to teach it who's boss. Your imagined experience, as if you're living the future, is as important as you actually doing the stuff that will get you the results in activity, okay? So it may be even more. And that is why you can get the best strategies in the world. If you do not work on your mindset, you will not have the results, no matter how hard you work it. That is why so many smart people do not accomplish as much as people who are more committed to working on their mindset and retraining their brains. Okay, so number one, get present to your thinking, stop and listen. Number two, write all of your thoughts down for a week, at least a week, and don't stop. Don't get lazy. Do it. And watch take a look at what your internal mind is saying to you. Notice how much is negative. Number three, meditate and visualize the future. Meditate, get quiet, and visualize a future that you are seeking, and marry the emotional experience with that in your mind. Very important, because that's the elixir. You want that. You need to have the emotional connection point to the thought pattern. That's how it actually starts to become real to you in your process, right? Okay, number four is more on the tangible side. Now, in terms of procrastination, when you start to create these new neural pathways, you can start to put some new activities in place that are going to support all of this. So, for example, in the example of my book, the last time I wrote my book, I said, okay, I'm writing an hour every single day. To me, because I'm struggling with getting the thoughts down on paper right now, I am going to change it up. I'm going to meditate on and visualize experiencing this whole process in a very different way, as if there is no as if there's no pain around research or about, how it's going to be. I'm going to start to visualize this process as being fluid and easy and in flow, and then I'm going to chunk it down time-wise. I'm not going to force myself to spend an hour at it. That seems like a lot of pressure. So for now, I'm going to time chunk it down into smaller bite-sized pieces. I'm going to write for 15 minutes a day. That I can do. For 15 minutes, I can write. I have the whole outline all mapped out. I just have to sit down and write it, and I don't have to spend an hour at it. Every single day, I'm going to write for 15 minutes or more. In other words, if I feel like I'm in the flow, I'm going to let it rip. If I'm not in the flow, I'm going to be okay with 15 minutes, but I'm going to time chunk it. And you can do the same thing for any project or any situation that you're working on that you're feeling procrastination around. Okay, and number 5, you got to celebrate. Listen, you guys, you got to celebrate baby steps. You are very tough on yourself. You think that if you haven't accomplished the ultimate goal, there's nothing to celebrate. Even if you have a new thought pattern come in, a new idea, a new feeling that you've never allowed yourself to feel before because it's positive, that's something to celebrate. You have to celebrate something about yourself every single day so that you teach your mind how to feel really good about your new activities and your new processes and your new sequences. All of this has to be, it's all a composite and all goes hand in hand. And then you have to rinse and repeat. You get that? Like, you just can't do it for 1 day or 2 days. Like when I started meditating, it didn't really start to kick in until 6 months. The benefits of it did not kick in for 6 months. But if it takes you 7 months, you're going to have to be willing to do that, because if you trust the process, you've spent decades in a hardwired situation on your life. Celebrate moments. That's where gratitude comes in. Thank you, honey. Gratitude journal. Celebration and gratitude every single day. If you don't do this, remember, you spent decades, your subconscious has had decades of data and interpretation and wiring that whole pathway in solidly. So for you to disrupt it now is going to take consistency, and you need to do it every day. And I don't want you to think about how long it is going to take, because that's more of the negative thinking. Just commit a little bit every day, celebrate how much you do every day, and watch as time goes on how you start to rewire your own thinking. And your procrastination will evaporate, because you will have new ways of thinking and seeing your processes, and you will start to see that procrastination has just been a symptom of a much bigger issue, which is that you don't have control over your thinking. And that's the real work. So your brain chemistry is under your own control. You can heal yourself through your brain chemistry. They've proven it. And if you really have any doubt about this, I really encourage you to do some listening and some reading to Dr. JoeDispenza. He's got tons of stuff all over YouTube, and there are lots of blog posts, and he's got tons of videos, and you will be amazed at what you learn from him. He's incredible. But there are many, many other masters around this, and they're so wonderful. They all are basically saying the same thing in different aspects of this. But what I like about Dr. Joe, for those of you who are very tangibly oriented and really need proof, he is the proof giver of how your brain is hardwired to produce the results that you've been getting, but that you can actually turn things around. And he has done a lot of brain research around this and has tangible evidence of it. So read about that. I am not a neuroscientist. I don't claim to be. I'm only sharing with you what I've learned and how I'm applying this for me and for my students. Now, one last tip. If you have been delaying taking action on your business because you are continuing to operate around it in the same old patterns, with the same old negative thinking, with the same old fears, with the same old worries, with the same old miserable, disappointing results. The only way you're going to get new results is to start shifting your thinking and start doing some new things. And for those of you who have never spoken with me before, And in this community, this is a very special community that has been in existence for about 1.5 years now. And we are an amazing community of people who are eager and hungry and yearning to not just get by in life, but to have a life that we create, that we are thriving in. This is not just paying the bills and getting by. This is about, we have been given an opportunity in our lives to create life, to create create our experiences. And so if you've never spoken with me before, my invitation to you is book a discovery call with me. It is complimentary. I'm going to give you the details in a moment. Now, if the next thought that comes in your mind is, oh, what does she want from me? What's she going to sell me? La, 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 la. Look, that is your old subconscious mind, distrustful, worrying about how someone's going to get over on you. It's survival mode. For those of you who are my students, and for those of you who have watched me in this group for over 1.5 years, you know, I am on a mission to help you 50-plusers to have career comebacks, to create your lives of autonomy and freedom and financial prosperity. And it is not about getting over on you. It is not, scamming you for something. I'm here to make a difference. And yes, I have a business. And yes, I want you to have a business. And yes, I want you to be prosperous. So I encourage you to book a call with me. Stop letting your subconscious threaten you and create doubt for you. And I promise it's going to be a very, very insightful, enlightening, and productive conversation. And because I have as much skin in the game as you do to have you have a great future. So how you would connect with me to book that call, and those spaces, they're limited. I mean, I don't have all the time in the world to have these calls, but I want you guys to know that this is an opportunity for you. And so as you're hearing this opportunity, you're probably having those thoughts come up in your brain, but show your subconscious that you're going to take your power back. You can go to www.thebusinessfox.com/let's-talk. I'll post the link in the comments box after today's video. It's www.thebusinessfox.com/let's-talk. And I would love to speak with you one-on-one. Some of you have been sharing with me and in the group that you've been struggling with the same crap for 1 year. And when are you going to get off it? Unless you don't want to get off it. Unless you want to let your life happen to you instead of you create it, which is your decision, and it's okay. But for me, I want my students and for all of you to have a life that is, not just about getting by, but about creating extraordinary experiences and freedom. All right. So with that, and I'm also going to post the link to the book, Dr. Joe's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and he's got a bunch of other books. And I'll post some of the YouTube videos that I love the most, and take me up on that. And let me just also remind you that the five tips that I gave you today: get present to your inner thoughts, stop and listen. 2, write them down for a week. Don't give up on that. Stick with it. 3, meditate, visualize, imagine your future, feel the feelings around your successful, wonderful new future. Number 4, time chunk it. You don't have to do everything for a whole day or half a day. Time chunk it into 15-minute segments. Experience a win and then celebrate. 5 is celebrate. Honor yourself. And your bonus suggestion is book a call with me. www.thebusinessfox.com/let's-talk. Honey, thank you for posting that. That's very sweet of you. I appreciate it. But I will also post it. Guys, I love you. I want you to have the most wonderful, wonderful freedom and success. I want you free of your negative thinking. Your brain chemistry is under your control. And by the way, it is not just around procrastination that this whole process will work. It will work for many other areas. In any area of your life that's not working for you, this is how you have to begin. It's where I began. I came out of the corporate world, which was the most negative place on the planet. And if I can rewire my thinking, believe me, it was really interesting. I went back to a reunion of my old industry about 5 years ago, and all they did was complain and moan and talk about other people and talk about what was wrong. And I went, I'm on a foreign planet here. I got to get out of here. So, yes. Kirk says what we have to realize that a new thought pattern is a major victory. Yes, Kirk, absolutely. And you must celebrate each little baby new thought that you have that's creating a new sequence is a victory. Celebrate. All right, you guys, that's it for me today. I am sending you I'm sending you waves. Work on your thinking and then feedback for me what you're learning. I'm so excited for you. I want to hear everything new that's coming up for you and share your struggles. You know, this is really, we're all in this together. All right. Love you guys. I'll speak to you next week, Friday. Don't forget, fire it up after 50 Facebook Live Fridays, right? Noon Pacific time. And I'll be posting the next topic, but I'm eager to hear what topics you want to learn about too. I have a whole list of them, but I want to hear what you want to learn about, and these are for you. All right, you guys? Okay, love you. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.